chemistry and the iPad. And there's a small group. You come up closer if you like to, or say where you are. I designed this to show you some of the apps that I use in the classroom, in the chemistry classroom, and also I created a iBook of labs this year that is a work in progress, and to show you how I'm going to change it each year and adapt it and make it more interactive. So we'll go from there. So introduction of how to integrate the iPad into any science classroom, not necessarily chemistry. I don't know if everybody's here from chemistry or from a different science background. Explore how the iPad has brought new learning options for students in the high school chemistry class. And again, we can use all strategies within all different science curriculum. And I'm going to talk about our honors project this year that they used their iPad to use to make websites and using entry creation and the lab menu. And there's that Edmodo code where I put this PowerPoint up there for you. There we go. It's why student engagement, even at a young age. There's my son, he's 3, playing with a chemistry app that he found really engaging. And he's mixing chemicals, and you can mix different chemicals, you can see a reaction, and sometimes the reaction doesn't take place, because sometimes the chemistry reaction doesn't take place. And they were even asking me, Mom, what is going on here? Why is nothing happening? So even at 3 and 4, they're engaged. I have 2 sons. They were both fighting over who could be making chemicals react and see a reaction. And I was telling them, let's look at hydroxide after they mixed everything together. So just even teaching them at a young age chemistry words and when a reaction takes place or not. It's fun. What kids like to use the iPad, get their hands on it. It's fun for teachers to touch and to manipulate instead of just writing on the dry erase board or chalkboard or on the overhead. It's just a different way to teach. It's interactive. Again, you get immediate feedback. I'll show you how I do notes, how I correct homework as well with the iPad. And also, I forgot that one, professional growth and development. As a teacher, you're continually growing, and I think it's great to keep up with technology and to grow as technology is growing. I don't think that this substitutes for good teaching. I don't think you necessarily have to use it every single day. I don't use it every single day. Sometimes, during labs, when we're doing wet labs, of course. But my AP students use it more during wet labs with data collection than my general chemistry would, just with the use of chemicals with the iPads as well. So my AP students use it more with graphing and collecting data. You decrease the carbon footprint. I can tell you, I barely make copies anymore. Unless it's a real manipulative where they have to cut out, and we do a Vesper origami lab where they have to cut them out, so of course we do do some modeling then. But I hardly use any paper anymore. Not have to worry about the copy machine. There's always plans. I collaborate with teachers and students. If I don't know something about the iPad, I know the students know something that perhaps I don't know or the teacher might, and we talk about different apps and we share, so it increases just knowledge, the wealth of knowledge that's out there. It makes learning more relevant and also safe. In a chemistry lab, I know with all the new safety regulations, they're trying to decrease the amount of chemicals we use. You can show more videos of reactions and keeping it a safe environment and have to worry about keeping all those chemicals. Especially, I'm not talking about the AP level, I'm talking more about the general chemistry or state or honors chemistry, and exposing it and then worrying about how to dispose of all your chemicals. You have this at your disposal. Learning can happen anywhere. You have course materials that are always present. If children have a sick day or even you have a sick day, you can easily upload files where they can get them no matter where they are. They can do their homework at McDonald's, they can do their homework when they're traveling at the hotel. It's always there for them, even not just homework, but just other information that you might want to put into. We use Canvas at Franklin Academy, and I'll show you a little bit about that, how we put the homework in the information modules where they can always access it. You can type or write or highlight. You can use a stylus and write your notes, or you can type them out, so it's adaptable for students who might not write legibly or have a hard time. They can use the keypad to type in. Instant capture, you can add pictures and videos of labs. When we did flame tests, students were taking pictures and easily integrated them into lab reports, which is a neat way of explaining what was going on. Instant access and sharing, they can share immediately with each other. The students and I can share with them. And you can use this in all classroom sizes, depending on how big or how small. So it doesn't have to, you don't have to really adjust it too much. And students grow academically, technologically, and through non-cognitive development. So it's really a win-win for everybody here. And it's really not a really big learning curve. Once you start into it, it might be a little scary at first, but there's so much out there that you really have to find what's right for you. There's 23 really great science chemistry iPad apps if you haven't seen any of these, and I wanted to put them up for you. So if you get into the store and you go in and you type these names up, they'll come up and they're free. And there's the problem about, I'll talk about this a little bit more later, that there is so many apps that how do you have the time to really find which ones are great for you? And then really the time to get them integrated into the classroom, make sure all the kids have the apps as well. So that's the problem that I see using some of these apps in the classroom. But some of them are really, really great apps, and I have some of them that I'll show you that we'll go through. I don't have all 24 downloaded. I have page number 11, page 12 here at Table Elements. The Khan Academy have great videos and great reinforcement of concepts. If you haven't used them yet, you can even, not necessarily an app, you can use it on your Mac or your laptop or any time with the Khan Academy or videos. There's just some screenshots of some of the apps. There's a multitude of free chemistry and science apps. And then there's more. There's great ones too, but you have to pay for them, and that's also a downfall because you're paying for something that you don't know that you'll really use in the classroom. And some schools might reimburse you, some might, but then again, if you're not going to use it, it's a waste of money. So it takes time and patience to check out these apps. And so it lies on you and your personal time in most cases to find which apps will work and which won't work in your classroom. So I don't use too many science apps in the classroom, such as these, yet. I'm still trying to narrow it down to find which ones will work best for my classroom and my students' needs. But there are a ton of them out there, again, just to kind of start searching through and checking them out. Other educational apps, iMovie, Goodreader. The students at Franklin Academy use Goodreader a lot for taking notes and getting information. I love Notability. Notability, I had a chance to know how the store gives you opportunity sometimes to get free apps, like the app of the week. And it was one of the ones to try for free, and I love Notability more than Goodreader. I'm using Goodreader right now, but I'll show you what Notability looks like. But the students don't have that on their iPad yet, and I would love for them to get that with Goodreader. Educations, that's one of the apps that the students use to create their honors projects. Canvas is our system where we put in information for you can put quizzes, you can put notes. Students put their homework, I grade right from there, and also grades book on there. So you're going to have to do a manual grade book anymore. I do both just because that's like the old school part of me, and I'm so excited both. Quizzly, iBooks. I have the students with the chemistry reference table directly on their homepage. The North Carolina Chemistry Reference Table, so it's got immediate access for them. So then again, they don't even have a paper copy of it, it's right there for them. And then TED Ed, the chemistry educational videos are great as well. And this is my lab manual I created, and I'll open it up and let you guys look at it as well. Every student has access to all labs, so they know all the labs. There's more than enough labs to do for the whole entire year. There's a safety guide in there. There's information on what to do if you miss a lab. There's information on how to set up each lab as you write it up in your lab notebook. That is paper for them. That's something that I would like to advance to later on, is getting a digital lab notebook. But for right now, every student has a hard copy of the lab notebook, and that's what I grade manually each week. It is a work in progress. It took, during our summer track out, I put it together. I worked on it every single day, doing labs, putting labs in there, and that took some time just to get it in. So it's not as interactive as I'd like it to be at this point. So hopefully over Christmas break, I can start working on it for next year, and even over summer track out, again, doing it for the upcoming school year, making it more interactive and putting in content and videos. So if there's a lab, say on flame test, they can go right to the video about what it should look like and get some more information about it as well. So let me show you. And this is in Canvas. I'm opening up Canvas right now. Again, what we use at Franklin Academy to put in all our notes, all our information for the students. Some teachers do quizzes on here. I don't, as of yet. Notes still up here.
If you reload it.
I just need a network.
The network thing?
Yeah, everything tried to slow you, just have to wait. Because I loaded your notes, it took a long time.
A long time.
Yeah, I mean, I just have to wait.
Maybe the big one.
Every other instructor's having the same problem.
Okay. Well, here's, you can see, hopefully that does that.
I'm not connected to their
Classic, I got you.
Switch to it, so.
Okay, so this is what Canvas looks like, and I'll talk a little bit of what the infrastructure really is about Canvas. But it shows all my courses that I teach. I'm teaching chemistry, honors chemistry, and marine biology, and I can just go into any one of them. And then it breaks it down, and I can decide what the students see and what they don't see as well by just all in the settings. And if it's not highlighted, they can't see it. They don't have access to it. But if you go to modules, you can see as the year progressed, I have a module called Important Documents. And then my units. And right now we have Unit 3, and this is the information that I posted onto Unit 3 so far. And so say balancing equations, students would just go there. And that's the notability app that I like to be able to see. And then we go through, these are the notes that I gave in class, and then I just directly write on it, and they can see as we're doing it. So I can write potassium solid reacts with liquid water to form gaseous hydrogen. So you see, like if I ran out of room here, there's an eraser, and I can fix it quickly. And then we'll go into the steps of balancing and how I teach them is you know, T chart and all this stuff. And then I have the arrow up the top. I can email it directly to the students who have missed class for the day, and they have notes. Or I can save it and put it back in the module as well with the notes there. I just email it quick so I don't clutter up the module with everything. That's a little bit of my ability. And then I also put in some answer keys. Sometimes if it's a homework, not even necessarily homework assignment, but classwork that I want them to check it on their own, if they're responsible of checking their own work, they can go check on the answer keys as well. Now for the lab, under chemistry lab manual, it's right there for them. And it's period file. But I already have it, so I'm going to stop this. I already have it in my notability. Now, when you make an iBook, you can save it as an iBook, or you can save it as a PDF file, so that they can open it up and they can add things and write things and type things in as a PDF file. It's an iBook, they can't. But what they can do if there's they can do interactive things to it. So right now it's a PDF file because again it's a work in progress. It took me time just to upload. There's 285 pages in this iBook right now, so that took some time just to create. As you can, so I first list like all the lab materials that you're going to need if you were to do every single one of these labs. And what I also try to do is make it lab friendly and safe for the students, just like how all the safety regulations are coming out, and we're trying to make it safer for the kids, use less harmful chemicals, have to worry about disposal and all that. So a lot of these things you can just buy at the store yourself, or you can put on your list to get through your school for your budget. And again, this is if you were chose to do every single lab. Here's the safety contract. That this is a manual thing that I also have them sign and I keep on file. but it's there so that they can always see what they signed. Here's the lab report format, so if they ever forget what is expected of them, it's right there for them as well. And then we start going into the labs. In the iBook, though, the only thing that happened when I made it into the PDF, it took the table of contents away, which I didn't like. But in the iBook, there's a table of contents, which tells each one of the labs. And I would like to also make them either alphabetical or correspond to the units, just so it's easier to find. So right now, I can even tell the kids to, it's on page 240, go to that lab, or page 110, go to that lab, or they can even search for the title of the lab and find it. And then they can go through the labs. And a lot of them have pre-lab questions, so you can even assign in the beginning of the week, this is the lab that we're doing. They can have it written up in their lab notebook to a certain point with the pre-lab questions answered, and then you can go and start doing the lab. So the hardest part of this was just getting all the information here. And that again, is the labor-intensive part of it. But again, I took my summer break, a couple hours each day, and just adding them in, and it's there. And I can edit. I mean, I found some spelling mistakes because you know that spell check doesn't catch all your mistakes for your grammar. It's like when you're reading a book, sometimes you find mistakes, and I tell the students to tell me if they find a mistake. So it's definitely going to be edited each year. And I would love to add in Khan Academy videos or other websites or links to enhance the learning a little bit more. So what is Canvas? It's a learning management system, and I showed you a little bit about that. It's really easy to use. It's cloud-based. And there's even integrates with many other apps in it. This is the first year we're using it at Franklin Academy, so we're all learning it together, teachers and students. We even started off the year not using it, and then it got integrated. So it's just a big learning experience for all of us. But I really, really like it, how the modules are all set up. We put in all your information. Teachers can grade directly, and I'm going to show you, I saw some assignments on there. How I grade. And you can access this not necessarily on the iPad, you can also access it on your laptop, which is great. It makes it really portable for a teacher. So say, I just clicked on this side where it said I had assignments that kids had posted. And then you can assign a due date or not, but I assigned a due date and it says this submission was late. So you can just give it a 0 if that's what you do if it's late, or if you knock out points if it's late, or you can just grade it on however you want. Now this type of thing, I just took it as everybody got 100 if they handed it in, and then we're going to go review it. I wanted to make sure that they understood all the shapes. So what I would do is a quick scan of it to make sure that they did all the work. And then over here, you can put in the grade, but I wanted to show you something else first. So it tells the student's name at the top, and the red dot means it has not been graded. If there's a green dot there, it means it has been graded, because it will scroll through all your students as you're grading them. And if it's if some student decided to print it off, because they can decide to print it off and hand it in as well, if that's what they decide to do, instead of handing it in digitally, you can put in the grade manually. As it comes up their name as you're doing it, you can say, like 0, they didn't hand it in, or you can say that they got 100 because they handed it in manually. So let's do 100. and then gives me a green check that she's turned it in. And then this arrow just arrows through all the students and tells me that these are the students that turned it in. And again, I'm a little particular with my grade book because I do a manual grade book and this just to verify that they match at the end. And in case anything were to happen, I always like my manual grade book as well. So I go in my manual grade book and I check it and make sure they verify both ways. And this student did not have a submission for this assignment, so then I just gave that student 0 because they never turned it in. Or if it was on paper, then I give them a 100. And then it just goes automatically to the grade book. And then it has everything that we've had, and it shows all the students in that course. And then you just go over and you can see all the grades. And again, you don't even have to click on what I did that way. I can click on a column here and enter a grade that way. So there's 2 places where you can enter grades. So, I don't know, Canvas is really user-friendly, and it didn't take a lot of learning to really figure it out. Note-taking, grading iPad, I showed you a little bit how I gave notes. Graded papers are not lost. You saw immediate feedback with that, either it got graded or it didn't. You just have to mirror the display. Students can upload photos of paper homework. I have students saying I did it on paper over the weekend. Can I take a picture and send it to you? And I say, sure. And then you absolutely know that you saw it instead of saying, well, I did it, but I left it at home. We'll take a picture and send it to me. Absent students, I love this part, but instant access to notes and makeup materials. They're there. Like I said, I email students who are absent the notes, and then I also let them know, don't forget that there's a homework assignment, and on their Canvas, they have a calendar, and it shows them all the homework and when it's due. So it's hard to say, like, I don't know what I have to do, because it's there. So Canvas with the iPad is going to be a great teaching tool. We used to use Edmodo, but then we use Edmodo here. I liked Edmodo, and I was afraid I wasn't going to like Canvas, but I like Canvas so much more because with the grading, and the students have the instant reminder of when the due dates are. I think Canvas is just such much neater and easier to use. And I think I only use like 5% of its potential at this point because there's so many apps and stuff that you can use to integrate with it. But again, you know, with being teachers, we don't have a lot of extra spare time to figure out how to use everything. So what I really want to show you is my honors chemistry project. They had to create a website or use educations to talk about a concept. So I'm going to show you a couple of these. So this girl decided to do a website. And they had a rubric on what they needed to follow. And they got to pick their topic, and they had lots of topics to choose from. And some of the topics we hadn't even covered yet in class. So it was really talk about advanced learning. When you get to that topic, they had a pre-knowledge to really set the ground for really learning this topic again. And they had to incorporate video. So that was her website. I'll show you the I did not teach them at all how to use Edge Creations or how to make the website. This was all on them. So I was giving them information what they needed to include in it. And they could do 2 projects a year. This was their first project, how to incorporate technology. Their second project is changing or doing some type of a changing or modifying the web. Did you get the noise? Noise and working.
On that.
Can you hear my iPad?
A great example would be pedometer. So for many countries, they don't measure in miles like we do in the US. They measure in kilometers. So if you wanted to say, I'm going a certain amount of miles, well, that's great. You can say that here. But there, you would say, I'm going so kilometers. Next, we have the liter. Now, the liter is pretty self-explanatory because usually it's only with liquids. So if you were to look on, say, a soda bottle like Pepsi, Diet Pepsi, or Mountain Dew, you're going to see that the measurements are in liters. And next, we have per gram. Now, on this cereal box label, we have the serving size, and it says it's approximately 1/4 of a cup. But you can also see that it also says 30 G, which stands for 30 grams. Which is using the metric system. So, now that we know the what, it'll probably be nice to know the who. So you're probably wondering, who on earth uses the metric system? Well, a better question would be who doesn't. Because out of all the countries in the world, there are only 3 who don't use the metric system. The first, and probably most obvious, is the United States. Second, we have Liberia. And third, we have Myanmar.
So that was just an example of one of them. And you can see that, let's show you another one. How diversified they are.
Where all the countries are located in relation to.
Today I will be talking about the law of conservation. This law was discovered by Antonio Lavoisier in 1785. It states that matter cannot be created or destroyed in an isolated system. begin this lesson, I would like to provide a preliminary example of this law using the World Trade Center attacks of 9/11. When the World Trade Center buildings were burned to the ground because of the attacks conducted by terrorists, it would seem that the mass of these enormous buildings had been destroyed because they were reduced mostly to ashes and piles of metal. But mass being
I just like how he also had integrated history along with chemistry in this and was making knowledge for himself. So I thought that was pretty amazing. I mean, I won't have to show you every single lesson, but it just shows you how each student takes information and makes it, ties it into their own knowledge, which I thought was really remarkable. And these are just some of the ones you can link to and look at yourself. Utilizing graphing and spreadsheet apps to enhance. So this is what's next. This is what I really like to integrate more into my chemistry classroom. Digital lab notebooks, again, challenges, the overwhelming amount of apps to search through, and to find one that's pertinent for your use. Connectivity, as you can see with today too, sometimes internet's slow. Sometimes you go to school, you don't have internet for the day, and everything that you planned is shot out the window. Especially if you don't use paper like I do as much anymore, and you're like, well, what am I going to do? So you always, as a teacher, you always have to have that backup plan for that. Java and Flash issues, which this is my bane of my existence right now because there's so many simulations out there for chemistry that you can't use on the iPad. And if they don't have laptops, you can't say, I have my laptops, I'm like, okay, let's 30 of us all look at this simulation together, which that's not what the simulation is for. It's really meant for each student to go through it on their own and have that learning. So you have to get the computer time and with the laptops or with the regular computer and on their iPad. So, I mean, I've heard some issues that Apple's going to make something to have a workaround, and then I hear no, that they're not. So, I'm really interested in seeing what's to come on this because there's some simulations that are really hard to use and I can't. And again, it does not replace some teaching practices. I think we could teach just as well with a chalkboard or a dry erase board or pencil and paper as this. But again, it makes learning more fun. I think it captures the interest of the students. And there is so much that we can do it, and there is so much information that we can use. So thank you. I was going to show you some of the apps. Another elements. I just showed this movie from PBS the other day in my classroom. You guys saw some of it, right? He's one of my chemistry students. But this is an app that they also have that integrates with it. Watch Hunting Elements, that's what I showed. It is on Netflix, it is on PBS. And it shows how all the elements really you can find throughout everyday life. I had a sub the other day and it said, how is this chemistry video? Something about a shark. And trust it, it's there. And explore the interactive periodic table. So if you pick an element, let's say manganese, gives you all this information, build. So it tells you the number and the weight, and then you have to build it and then try to submit it, and it will tell you if you're wrong, and it has a countdown, and it's like, oh no, you're running out of time, you're done. I think this is really great because they have to know how many protons, how many neutrons, how many electrons you need to add.
Where's this one at?
It's just called Nova Elements.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought this one was really, really great. Free. And it has the link to the movie as well. So it's there. And I would like, we have to get permission to put the apps on, the kids can't just put any apps on their iPad. So next year, especially since it's free, I would love for them to get this app on it, and then they can really look at the elements and help, because I know they have such a hard time with protons and electrons, building some elements and they can take a screenshot of it then and submit it as well, play with it a little bit more. You can see down here it's even color coded. Hard to see up here all the colors, but There's games. Try to add them into place with the molecule. Simple. Even if the students aren't really that advanced, they at least get to see the 3D structure molecules and not just being flat, because we draw them on the board that way. Has anybody watched Hunting the Elements? Yeah, it's great. I know it's long, it's 2 hours, the video, but you know, it's a really good video, and it's interesting, and I like David Films. Educreations is the website they use to build their video. The K-12 periodic table, this one is a free one as well. And so you can bring up Harper, it tells you immediately information about it. Opinion. It's just, this one is, I don't think it shows the Lewis dot structure, gives you melting point, boiling point. So this one doesn't have as much information as the Nova one, but it's quick, simple to get to. This is the one that children are playing. The only downfall of this one, here's the, you have to, everything is free, but you have to download, like, it takes you a minute, so you always have to wait, like, to get more water, or to get your chemicals. So now I have to wait, now I can go get my chemicals, and I did all these, but at first you don't have a lot of chemicals, and it's like 2 minutes. So sometimes you have to wait to do the chemistry experiment, which is horrible. But you just take your strontium and plop it in there, and then once your water is ready, then you're going to beaker here, and you can dump it in, and it's going to show the reaction. And then it tells you the chemical formula and the name of what you have if there is a reaction. And then there's other experiments.
This is called Kim Crafter.
Yeah, there's acids. So after you do all the water experiments, it unlocks the acids, and then salt experiments. So it's fun. The only drawback to that is the wait time. But my children really liked it, seeing like the because you'll see like the colors and the bubbles and all that stuff.
Why do you think they put a delay on that?
I don't know.
Maybe so people just wrote.
Maybe to help you think about what you're gonna. I don't. Maybe wait on buying the chemicals and not like the water and the sulfuric acid and all that stuff.
Yeah.
To say, should I put this in there or not? What's my reaction gonna be? But like for my 3-4-year-old to wait was horrific. And I was like, okay, let's do this and come back to it. But it was fun. That was the only drawback, and it's free. So this is from Carolina. There's not a lot on here, but I think it was nice on practicing formulas to name. So how many problems would you like? Like 10. Choose the correct formula name for NH4 plus, and they give you a list down here to go through, and you can pick the right one. So let's say they picked the wrong one. Incorrect. So what would you like to do? Try again, or see the solution. And it gives me the solution. So I know I don't know if you make them memorize the polyatomics, I don't. But in AP Chem they need to have it memorized. But we use them so much that they have a lot of memorized by the end of the year anyway. So I think this is good practice. Maybe even for AP when we get into organic more than that standard chemistry. So this was pretty neat. Drag elements into reaction areas to create chemical reactions. So it tells you what it is. If here's lithium, and let's say, if it's trying to kill me, okay, that didn't. So I think it makes them more authentic for their learning as well. So that one is go react. So this is the TED Ed one, which is really nice too. So we just click on one. So even something like this to incorporate into my lab measurement.
There it goes. Oh, actually, that's quite spectacular, yeah. My second year actually think, but I look for far too much. I think I talk about it too much. I love boron. Now, I used to do lots of chemistry with boron, and I've kind of moved away a little bit from boron now, but I really like it.
Boron is an interesting element. It's one of the few that I actually made myself when I was at school.
Boron sits at the top of group 13. Its atomic number is 5. So it's a metalloid. So elemental boron is a metalloid, which basically means it has some of the properties of a non-metal, some of the properties of a metal.
I mixed an oxide of boron with magnesium, heated it up, and then it's a really dramatic reaction when you add water at the end to try and destroy the magnesium borate that's formed, because you get puffs of gas coming off, which burst into flames, rather like little anti-aircraft guns. The boron itself was rather disappointing. It's a sort of brown powder.
I mean, there's more of a powdery brown boron. There are several crystalline sort of types of allotropes of boron. There's one actually that's really, really hard.
So you can go, they have a video for every single one of the elements.
And this one's called.
It's TED Ed and periodic videos. Yeah. That one is on an app. If you go to ed.ted.com, and I think I just put it on my homepage. And so, if it's not an app, the students can do this as well, which is great on those, that they can just put it on their homepage. Any questions?
Just wondering, have you changed the way that your students prepare for a lab or the way they're recording their labs other than them doing it in a digital notebook?
Well, right now, I definitely gives them more time to pre-read a lab because it's there. It's always there for them. I haven't done the digital notebooks yet. I'm just not comfortable in it. I'm trying to get comfortable with that. There is a lot of questionable sharing, I think, sometimes of answers when you're doing a lot of things digitally. So you have to go by an honor code and all that, but this is my own work. And I like the lab notebook because I can see handwriting, I can see, even if they directly copy from somebody else, they had to go through the whole handwriting procedure of it to do the work to get it done, and hopefully some of the knowledge plug in. And I haven't found any apps that I really like that are free, that are not costing me money to find to be a digital notebook online. So I haven't really changed too much with my lab so far. Just making the iBook was just a huge task to get it in there. And then hopefully next year I'm going to integrate, not hopefully, definitely next year, more interactive sites will be integrated into it and make it definitely change lab experience.
Yeah, I'm playing with the idea of just throwing the traditional lab report out the window because it's so static and and they can just copy, you get 30 identical lab reports.
Right.
And then it's really hard to differentiate what each kid has learned.
Right.
So I went to a really great session by the EdTech Innovator guys, and they do labs just completely different with iPads. They use like 7 different apps from the beginning process to the very end of their communication that they learned in the lab. And it's really open how the students present their conclusions from the lab. So I think that separates kids too, so you can see when they have the opportunity to present in any format,
Right.
really get at their learning.
Right.
But then I think are we preparing them for the next stage?
Right. Because in
Post-secondary,
AP chemistry, they're expected to have
to be able to
my
do lab report.
right, and the syllabus for that, I have to say, yes, this is their lab report, this is exactly how we have to write each lab. So, but how many students really go on to AP chemistry too? So, or future, again, so are we doing a service or disservice?
Yeah.
I agree. I think the lab report's a great thing, but how
Maybe
do
we need to do both.
I know. Well, maybe, maybe instead of doing every single lab write-up,
Yeah.
maybe do some more interactive
Creative
like
way,
that,
yeah.
and then do some the standard way that they use as well. I agree.
I have a question.
Sure.
So I'm not a chemistry teacher, but I'm here for a chemistry professor, and she was wondering if any of you use Excel for your labs at all, because she wanted to know if Excel was up to par, I guess, and she doesn't think that when her students use Excel, she doesn't think that it can collect the kind of data that she needs for her classes, and I don't know if anybody uses that.
Not in my standard classes, in my honors classes, they use, I don't think they have Excel on their, what's that? Numbers? They have numbers, which is subpar than Excel.
What about Google Spreadsheet?
Yeah.
I think that's probably, our seniors don't have iPads, but that's probably where we would go if we Google.
Yeah. I used that I went to a conference at NC State, and that's what we used. And it really helps share the information as well. Yeah. It's hard sometimes with the iPad to really find apps that do so much as they do not in the iPad around the world, like a laptop and Excel and other spreadsheet programs. But again, there's so much out there, but some of them cost, like $80, and who's going to spend the money to test it out and say, yes, this was a good choice for my classroom or not?
How about digital probe? Are you using that at all?
I'm
The Pascal probes and SparkView apps, are you using that at all in your school?
No.
No. I'm hoping to. It's
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah. I mean, I have those probes and stuff, but I just don't have the apps to.
So SparkView's free
Okay.
if you have Pascal probe,
Okay.
and their app's free and it interfaces with the
Oh.
probe.
See, that's great.
Yeah.
And so many teachers know someone that there's so many out there. It's like, well, what do I search for? What do I know? Or, and the time as a teacher we have is so limited that, and then we get stuck in doing the same thing. My first year teaching the iPad, here's your iPad. It's like, the students are like, oh, this is what you do. Because I didn't even know they were using Goodreader, and I didn't even know how to go back or erase or do that. So the students were such a wealth of information as well. And then I use Notability, and the students don't have it, and they're like, oh, we love Notability. When do we have it? I'm like, well, maybe next year. Maybe we can get that instead of Goodreader. But I think they're both good note-taking apps. And some teachers see sometimes the iPad is just a glorified different way to take notes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if that's the only thing that you're doing, then why use it? But I think it's a great tool when we're using it with Canvas. I love Canvas and the modules and giving kids the option to do homework anywhere, anytime. And I can see turning it in. That submission was late. There's no question in my mind it was late because there was a due date on it and a time. And it wasn't the student saying, well, I turned it in and you didn't grade it or you lost it. Well, it's right there. Anything else?
I would just mention one app that we just recently used in our school, and it's called 4D Elements. So it's
4D Elements?
augmented reality,
Okay.
and it's real simple. It's a free app that you print off these templates of cubes, cut them out, and each of the 6 faces has a different element on it. and then you hold it up under the app, and the element appears within the cube. The cube goes
I've seen this for
invisible.
the anatomy one.
Yeah, they have the anatomy
It's really
one,
cool.
yeah.
It
It's
has like
super
a
cool.
So you print it out and then you put it, it's like a barcode or something that it reads?
Yeah, the graphic design on the face, the app turns that into like almost like a live
Oh, nice.
element. And you can bring two cubes together, so you can bring sodium and chloride together, and it'll form.
So that then they can see it on their
They
iPad.
can see. So if nothing happens, they start, and so we use it with our grade 9s, our early learners in chemistry, and they have to start to predict that, oh, the metal will react with the non-metal.
Nice.
Yeah,
I'll have to.
so it's called 40 elements.
40 elements.
Yeah,
Nice.
highly recommend it.
After Thanksgiving, that's what we're doing.
What are we doing?
40 elements.
Takes a while to build the cubes, like
Yeah.
you just get lots of scissors and glue sticks and hand them all out to lots of kids and get them to build the cubes.
Yeah, that's
So we built
totally
about 40 of them.
That'd be like a lab too, you can do that work.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
I recommend it.
Well, thank you for your time, and I hope, if you're interested in doing the iBook, or I'm willing to share labs, because they're not just labs I thought of, so, if you want a copy of the iBook, I'm willing to help you, teachers share, we all copy from each other, and there's labs I found online, there's labs from other teachers, some of the labs I modified to make it more student-friendly, right, I'll put my email on there. I'll give you my email. And no ability to now give me a blank page, and I can just write anything then. So in case like we're talking about something and I want to like just start drawing elements or something, I can open this up. So my email is Harper's. No, it's not email. Right, word, right? Okay, then, Wrigley County dot org, right?
Yeah.
So you said that you get your second project, you get your chemistry students to do is modify a lab?
They modify a lab or come up with a lab that they can do on their own. Yeah, say it has to be teacher, but just to get them to start thinking about what's a question I want to answer. So this was new this year that we integrated this honors project into all science classes. I didn't know what we were going to get as results, and I was really, I got, of course, the spectrum of projects already, but I was pretty impressed for the most part that the use of the integrations or even creating their websites, and they didn't ask for any help in any of that, so it's been a foundation built on them throughout their freshman year, getting the iPad, because I teach mostly juniors and seniors, so I don't have to teach them how to use it, they already have that information. I hope I gave you a little bit of information on that.
That's good.